Nolagent here at the Commemorative Air Force event at the Lakefront Airport in New Orleans, Louisiana. Good times in here and great historical airplanes. Fantastic event. Welcome to Nolagent. Let the good times roll. I want to give a quick shout out to all of my other fellow military veterans out there and wish you a happy Veterans Day and thanks for your service. So I was excited to discover there was a historic air show out at the Lakefront Airport offering B-17 rides. The Lakefront Airport, as the name implies, is located on Lake Pontchartrain in New Orleans. And this is a really interesting area. They do have a beautiful airport terminal here that's worthy of its own episode in its own right. Unfortunately, the restaurant inside that terminal is currently closed due to COVID-19. And then we have a marina right next door to the airport as well that's also beautiful. The marina did have a restaurant and bar that was also a live music venue known as the Lazy Jack that unfortunately went out of business. So I was happy to find they did have free parking for this event. And then as I looked around, I could see the B-17 Flying Fortress sitting there waiting still, so that was exciting already. It also looked like one of the hangars had suffered some damage in our recent hurricane when I was looking around, and there was also an airplane that looked like it had also suffered some damage. Although in New Orleans, you never know if this happened in the most recent hurricane or some past storm. Back when I was a kid growing up, I was really fortunate to have attended a lot of these air shows, and I haven't attended any since I was a kid, so this one does seem a lot smaller, and there seemed to be quite a sparse attendance instead of the large crowds I remember from childhood attending these events. This event happened during Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, and I attended at the very end of the day on a Saturday, so I do hope the other days had higher attendance. It was a little bit cloudy and overcast, so that could have scared some of the people off that didn't want to get involved in any possible rain. So this event was put on by the Commemorative Air Force, and there is a New Orleans chapter. And then this is one of the New Orleans planes in the Big Easy chapter. You could fly on this one for $250. And this is a Boeing N2S-5 Stearman biplane. So this was quite a nifty looking little item, and I would have loved to have flown on it, but the cost of flying on these was outside of the Nolagent project's budget. I really love the Langhurst Junkers, and this was a replica, not a real one. A gentleman had rebuilt this from scratch, which in its own right is pretty fascinating. I'll let you read the story here on your own. You can pause the video right here to read the full and fascinating story of how this guy built his own replica Junkers. So it was a really fantastic looking plane, and it also is the only one that I was able to really get close to because all of the rest of the planes were busy loading passengers and flying people around during my short visit here at the end of the day. It really looked like it had some great historical details, and the machine guns were present, and they were dummy wooden machine guns, as was the fake bomb on the bottom of it. So as a dive bomber, it did need its military accoutrements, which it did have. And this is a flying replica, so that also is impressive. So we do get to see the plane take off. They were having a little trouble with the battery getting it started, so they had to do a little work on it to get the engine and the battery all working in proper coordination to get the prop up and running. So this was fun, and I got to be really close to it while they were working on it to get the engine started. So this was a really good time being able to watch this plane in action. So as we see, the prop is going, it's taking its time to kind of get itself powered up and getting everything ready for it to fly out. So this alone was worth the price of admission. So this was a lot of fun just seeing them get ready to take off. And as we see, they still had a little trouble getting it powered up all the way. It took a couple of attempts before they really got it up and going, and here we are with it powered up and the prop is ready. So the Commemorative Air Force that's putting on this event was founded in 1954 when a group of former service pilots from the Rio Grande Valley in Texas pooled their money to purchase a P-51 Mustang. As their collection of aircraft multiplied, the mission of the Commemorative Air Force was focused on preserving an example of every aircraft that flew during World War II, which at the time was a mission no one else was undertaking. So the Commemorative Air Force, which had started as a hobby, evolved into an organization with the urgent goal of preserving historic aircraft. The Commemorative Air Force has now been collecting aircraft for nearly half a century, and the Commemorative Air Force can claim to be one of the largest air forces in the world. Currently, the Commemorative Air Force has some 13,000 members and a fleet of over 175 aircraft, which represent more than 60 types, including planes from foreign countries and military conflicts after World War II. The Commemorative Air Force Headquarters is located in Dallas, Texas, while members are located in every state and 28 foreign countries. The Commemorative Air Force's fleet of aircraft in flying condition is known as the Ghost Squadron and serves to remind, recreate, and reinforce the lessons learned from military aviation history. There are Commemorative Air Force units that have officially formed in 26 states and 4 foreign countries to foster camaraderie, and many of these units actively support one or more aircraft operated by the Commemorative Air Force. The Commemorative Air Force unit in New Orleans is the Big Easy Wing that was established on April 28, 2017. Next we have the North American SNJ T6, a Navy trainer. And this one was expensive to ride on at $345. And this was a fast little plane once it got up in the air. And this was my first attempt at filming an airplane in the air. And my magnification on my camera definitely made this a hard thing to keep up with. So with a magnified camera and the fast-moving airplane, it was really hard to keep it in frame. So that's nothing compared to what our World War II pilots had to contend with keeping these airplanes in their sights during aerial combat. So you really get a respect for the challenge of keeping your focus on these planes when they're in the air moving fast. Some people did do the ride and they all seem to have a great time at this event. So definitely in the future at some point I would love to be able to ride in some of these old planes. Alright, next up we have a Navy transport plane, and this is the Beech D18S JRB-6 for the Navy designation. And this was quite a popular civilian plane as well as being a military transport plane. So it's got a great history with it. This one was only $100 to ride. And this one was the one I considered the most, as it was closer to the NOLA Jet budget, but it was still outside of the NOLA Jet budget for this video. So maybe in the future I can get onto more of these planes and ride them more. And if you'd like to help the NOLA Jet project with such expenses, you can join our Patreon. That's in the link below, and I would appreciate that. Or just click the thumbs up and hit that subscribe button, and that also can help us begin to get some funding once we get 1,000 subscribers and some additional watch time. So I do appreciate it, but it is just so fantastic to see all of these old warbirds all together like this. It just is not a common thing anymore at all. There are only a handful of all of these types of planes left, and to have them all together in one place is truly a unique experience, and you really get such a flashback to what it must have been like in the past on an airfield and back during World War II to see so many of these airplanes in one place. And the biggest thing I saw missing here is there were not any World War II veterans that I really saw, whereas in the past in the air shows I'd gone to, there were lots of veterans from World War II. So tomorrow I will be going to the National World War II Museum for Veterans Day, and I hope to see some of the last of the World War II vets around there, as we really don't have much time left to see them. NOLA Jet here, the B17 Flying Fortress. Not many of these left, a piece of history that you need to see. So this was the main attraction, and it was flying over New Orleans the entire weekend. And the sound of it going overhead was quite impressive. And it just really took you back to experiencing what it must have been like to have been in World War II with this flying over your country as an ally or over your country dropping bombs on you. and the huge numbers that they would fly over and attack in. It must have been a truly terrifying sight to see these impressive airplanes flying overhead in a mass formation. These days, there's only a handful of them left, so we'll probably never be able to see a mass formation of them ever flying again, unfortunately. So, just getting to experience one is still quite impressive, though. It truly is an honor to be able to be here and see this moment of this plane getting ready to take off. Just an amazing experience and just such beautiful pieces of machinery. They are definitely harkening back to a bygone age, and it just really gives you an appreciation for what the people in those days did. I also noticed another large group of people missing out here, and that would be children. So parents out there, you really need to bring your children out to events like this. They need to understand and know the history of our country and the world. And this is one of the best hands-on, truly realistic historical experiences that can inspire children to study history and to want to learn more about all these different airplanes and the history that they were involved in. So let's get people inspired to get themselves more immersed into learning about world history and American history. I remember as a kid, I was so fascinated by air shows like this, and I love collecting models and building models of all of these various World War II planes and more modern planes. It just really generates so much fascination and interest to experience all of these different airplanes in an environment like this that you really just can't get anywhere close to the same experience of them just sitting in a museum somewhere where they're just dead machines that don't work anymore. Seeing these machines alive and doing what they were engineered to do is truly seeing them live again, and bringing that past experience to now. It's the closest thing that we have now to time travel. Seeing this B-17 line up on the runway, preparing to take off, just is really an amazing, beautiful sight to me. I don't know about everybody else out there, but to me, this is just an amazing, beautiful sight to see this thing line up. And growing up, I did want to be a pilot in the Air Force. My eyesight didn't allow it, so that's how I ended up in the Army instead. Here we go with the B-17 flying overhead. Just imagine this thing coming over you, dropping bombs. You just feel the vibration of the propellers in your body as it flies overhead. You just feel the power of this thing. It truly is amazing. And then as it flies overhead, it's so hard to keep it in frame. I mean, imagine being an anti-aircraft gunner and attempting to try to defend against this thing over you. It's so hard to keep this thing anywhere close to in your sights when it's close right above you. And there she goes, flying off into the distance, taking the people on their tour. So you get around 20 minutes of flight time, and it costs $425 for the radio room, gunner seats. And if you want the prime seats in the bombardier area, it's $850. So that would be the prime place for the best photographs, but that is all well outside Nola Chint's budget. So I would love to be on one of these one day. As a kid, I got to crawl up inside of them and look around inside. I still have never flown on one. At some point in my life, I would love to be able to get the chance to be in this. And then here she is, landing, coming back in. We have one more group of passengers they're going to take around. And all weekend long, I got to see them fly over New Orleans in this beautiful B-17. All the other planes were flying above too, but you didn't really notice them because they just don't have the power and that imposing sound that you recognize immediately as the B-17 does. On video, the sound and the vibration just really doesn't come through. If you've never been around one of these amazing pieces of engineering, I highly encourage you to make sure that you visit one of their shows and see one of these B-17s in person. They have constant air shows throughout the year, actually. Check out their website at commemorativeairforce.org to see their scheduled list of events. Wow, how many people in the world do you think can say they've seen a B-17 bomber get parked? What an amazing experience. If you've enjoyed seeing this B-17 and all the other airplanes, go ahead and give this video a thumbs up and smash that subscribe button. I really did enjoy spending time again with all of these old airplanes, and I really regret that I've waited so long to come back out and check them out again, because literally I haven't really seen them since I was a kid, and I wish I'd have been coming out checking all of these wonderful pieces of history out a lot more frequently, because every time you visit them, they are unique and special, and it is not cheap to own and maintain these old airplanes. So they do need all the support we can give them, or they will die and go away, and we do not want to see that happen, as this is part of all of our history that needs to stay living history. And yet again, just a salute to all the veterans out there. Thank you again, and happy Veterans Day.
Thanks for watching. I really appreciate it. And if you would just click on the little circle here with a picture of my head in there and subscribe to the NOLA Jet channel, it would really help me a lot. I really appreciate it. Thank you.